The offer sliced through the cabin like a knife. $50,000 to anyone who can make this baby stop crying. Gasps. Heads whipped around. First class froze, every passenger suspended in disbelief, except for the baby, who only cried harder, her tiny lungs wailing like alarms that refused to be silenced. This wasn't just any flight. It was supposed to be routine, New York to San Francisco, a calm cross-country trip. But somewhere over Colorado, Flight 771 had become a pressure cooker at 35,000 feet. Businessmen pinched the bridges of their noses. Couples muttered curses beneath silk eye masks. And in seat 1A, billionaire Grant Whitmore, a man used to bending entire markets to his will, was unraveling. The suit that cost more than some passengers' monthly rent was now damp with sweat. His reputation as America's most eligible widowed father meant nothing. Neither did the designer baby gear he'd hauled on board, because his 9-month-old daughter Ella had been screaming for 3 solid hours. He had tried it all. White noise machines, pacifiers, even a Swiss-engineered teether that promised miracles. Nothing worked. Her cries sliced through the cabin like blades, raw and merciless, as if the plane itself was being shaken apart by sound. And then through the curtain from economy, she appeared. Not first class, not VIP, just a substitute flight attendant called in last minute, a black woman in a Navy apron who most people would forget the second they landed. But she didn't flinch. She didn't bow to the stares. Her voice was soft, steady, unshaken. "Sir, I think I can help." The cabin stiffened. Some passengers scoffed. A few rolled their eyes. Some bristled as though her very offer was an offense. A woman like her, daring to offer help to a man like him in a cabin like this? But what happened next would silence every doubt, rewrite unspoken rules, and remind everyone watching that sometimes the answer comes from the person nobody expects. Her name was Leah James. To most, she was invisible. Just a server at 35,000 feet, hair tied back, polite smile, apron pressed. The kind of person who blends into the background, who you only notice when your drink is late. But inside that uniform was something the entire plane would come to see, a force of nature wrapped in quiet patience. At 27, Leah had learned more about pressure, responsibility, and resilience than executives twice her age. She didn't have Ivy League degrees or a trust fund. She had something harder to teach: instinct. Emotional fluency, the kind of knowing that came from surviving storms most people couldn't imagine. Raised in East Oakland, she'd lost her mother to cancer at 16 and raised 2 younger brothers while her father drifted in and out of prison. One brother had asthma. The other had been born premature. By graduation, she could calm a screaming toddler, prep a nebulizer, and rock a baby to sleep with one arm. Her life motto was simple: survive today, protect your people, fight for tomorrow. She dreamed of becoming a pediatric therapist, but dreams cost money she didn't have. So she hustled. Waitressing, babysitting, pulling doubles at the diner until her feet throbbed. The airline job wasn't a career, it was survival. A temporary gig with one perk: free standby flights. On off days, she'd sit in empty planes with a second-hand psychology textbook on her lap, highlighting words she didn't yet understand, determined to learn anyway. No one knew her story when she stepped through that curtain. But when she locked eyes with a billionaire clutching his red-faced daughter like a broken glass figurine, none of that mattered. What mattered was that she knew that cry. She had heard it in her own home, in her brother's lungs, in the nights when the world felt too heavy for a child to bear. That sound was burned into her bones, and she wasn't afraid of it. First class was a battlefield now. Whispers of lawsuits, complaints to the airline, disgust dripping from polished voices. This is first class, not a daycare. Some people shouldn't fly. Grant heard every word. Each one cut deeper than Ella's screams. He had built empires. He had silenced Wall Street critics. But here, in this cabin of strangers, he was powerless. His daughter's cries were louder than his reputation, and for once in his life, money couldn't fix it. And then came the moment. Leah stepped forward, her presence calm, her voice unwavering. "I think I can help." Grant's eyes darted, confusion, desperation, hesitation. He wasn't just questioning her ability, he was questioning her place. Her uniform, her skin. Could he trust her with what he valued most? Another scream ripped through Ella's throat, shattering his pride. With trembling reluctance, he nodded. Laya reached out, hands steady, practiced. Grant hesitated, but he let go. And in one seamless motion, she cradled the child against her shoulder. She didn't shush or panic. She hummed a low rhythmic sound, almost like a heartbeat. Her hand tapped Ella's back with precision, not random but intentional. The cabin fell quiet, not because the crying stopped, but because everyone sensed something shifting. Her stillness was contagious. Her presence filled the air. Slowly, Ella's fists unclenched. Her cries softened. Her breaths steadied. And then, impossibly, she fell asleep, her tiny head nestled against the polyester apron that had just changed everything. Grant stared, his mouth open, his mind scrambling. How did you do that?" His voice was barely a whisper. Laya didn't answer right away. She whispered to Ella first, words too soft for anyone else to hear. Then she looked up. Sometimes they don't need bottles or gadgets. Sometimes they just need someone who's not afraid to feel what they feel. The silence in first class was heavier than any turbulence. Even those who had complained earlier sat frozen, forced to witness a truth money couldn't buy. A black woman in an apron had done what a billionaire, his wealth, and his experts could not. When Grant asked again, her answer was simple. "My brother. Born too early. Doctors gave us routines, but nothing worked. My mom figured it out. Babies don't calm through charts. They calm through you. If you're anxious, they feel it. If you're grounded, they know it. Babies don't need noise. They need presence." Grant felt his chest tighten. He had hired experts, bought the best tools, read the best books. Yet none of them had told him that. But here was a woman with no degree, no spotlight, teaching him in real time what it meant to connect. That moment changed everything. Within a week, Laya James walked through the doors of a child development center in San Jose, not in an apron, but in a blouse, jeans, and a messenger bag. Not a server, but a leader. Not invisible, but seen. Grant had offered her what she had always deserved, a chance. Tuition covered, a paid internship, a path forward. Because sometimes the most overlooked person holds the answer the world desperately needs. This story isn't about a billionaire or a crying baby. It's about what happens when empathy cuts through noise, when instinct outranks status, when presence changes everything. It's about a woman who wasn't supposed to be in first class, but who reminded everyone there that sometimes the hero doesn't sit in 1A. They come from the back of the plane, carrying nothing but courage. And that day at 35,000 feet, a baby found peace, a father found humility, and a woman who had always known her worth finally had someone else recognize it too. So if this story touched you, share it. Because somewhere out there another Laya is waiting. And maybe, just maybe, you're someone else's.